everybody and welcome to Disventure Camp Season 1, The Tier List. My name is Silly Billy, but you can call me Billy. It has been a little quiet on the Silly Billy upload front for the last couple of weeks, and we are making up for that with not one, not two, but 3 majestic uploads. All in one. The final one of these I am recording first. That makes sense? No? Good. Initially, I wanted to do a big review of Season 1, just like I did with Season 2, but then I just realized that I have not experienced Disventure Camp Season 1 in the same way that I have experienced Season 2. Reason for that being that I was involved in the production process, I was involved in the recording, of course, for Trevor, my sweet little boy. Hello! And so I experienced this season completely different from the other season, where I was reaction blind. And this is also a big reason why we're going back to the blind reaction format for the next season, because I really want that feeling again. I want to have that experience going again here. Anyway, enough of that story for now. I think the best way to wrap up Season 1 here would be a tier list. I don't believe I've given my opinions on any of the characters beyond the interviews that we've done so far. So this is actually a first talking about the characters without anybody else here. Oh man, we need to lay down some ground rules here, because if we're going to include the voice actors for this project, I would put everybody in S tier. I loved interacting with all of these people. I've actually spoken to all of these people, all of them. Some of them even twice. No, wait, no, I've not talked to Drew. Okay, bye, Drew. You're going in D tier and the rest goes in S tier. So if I were to include my opinions on the voice actors and the people behind them in this list, that would completely shift this list out of balance, and that is not what we're going for here. So I am not including the delivery of any of these voice actors in this list, nor am I including the voice actors behind them. I think that makes sense. God, I'm yapping already. Okay, let's get this tier list going. We need a couple of new tiers. Okay, S tier is going to be for stop being this cool. I love you. Right. Oh my god, Fiora is a minor. Let's just go for stop being this cool. A is obviously going for Awooga. A for aw man, am I happy that you were in this season. They're slightly below stop being this cool, but I'm really happy that we got to experience them this season. That's it. B is going to be for beautifully average. That's that's not cheating at all. No, surely not. C is going to come on, do something. These are the people that have not really had the chance to shine, but they're not insultingly bad either. And the D tier is going to be for, let's pick a page from The Simpsons here. Let's go for Doe. Doe! I can't do a Homer impression, but I can rank these characters based on this list. Okay, we need to add one more row, the Trevor tier. And let's move Trevor up there immediately. We are having Trevor at the top here. Does that mean he is my favorite character? No, not by a long shot, but I cannot objectively rank this character. It is impossible for me to rank this character. I can share some thoughts about him, that for sure, but there is no place on this list that would feel justified for me. Either it's too high, or it's not high enough, or I don't know. It's so tough to rank the character that you voice yourself. Let's start with Trevor then. Trevor is such a funny host, but is so incredibly irrelevant to the story he's in. Like, Trevor is a vessel to this story, and that's exactly what this story needs, right? I thought in Disventure Camp Season 2 that Crystal was taking quite a bit of screen time from characters who could benefit from it themselves, but then at the same time she did have an interesting story. Trevor is like the opposite of that. He has some funny jokes here and there, he's a nice guy, he's funny, and that's basically all there is to this character. I hope Trevor will get to play a more important role now that he's out of this host role. And because he is still in the story, there is a storyline for him, which is going to involve him interacting with some people, maybe, who knows? I like that. I like exploring the backgrounds between Trevor and Derek as well, and Jensen even too, if he's in the next season, I don't know. But for now, Trevor is like way too bland, but like, I love Trevor. I am Trevor! You know, so you can consider Trevor separate from this tier list, okay? And now that we've started with the host, let's actually finish with the host. I am going to move Derek to the "Aw man, am I happy that you were in this season" tier. Derek, at the beginning of this season, would have probably been like, here, come on, do something. And then, I said I wasn't going to include voice actors, but I can include the work that the voice actor puts behind their character. And that's cheating. I'm not going to do that for everybody, because I don't know what everybody has been doing, even though I've interviewed them all. But in the case of Derek, Derek was very much bland in the script, and the passion that has been poured into this man, making him almost a comic relief instead of Trevor. Trevor kind of took the role of the nice guy and the funny guy, and now Derek is trying to take more of that funny guy side. I think is good, because that matches the good cop, bad cop dynamic that these two characters have. Because Derek is now far more cynical than I think he was in the beginning, the two match each other very well. And because of that, I need to move up Derek, because I genuinely thought Derek was a really funny character in the last few episodes of the show. Not so much towards the beginning, but as the season progressed, yeah, Derek was definitely up there. Next up, we have Jensen, and as much as I like the guy behind the voice... Now, stop! You are not going to talk about the voice actors! I need to move... I don't know why there's two Jensens in this map. Let's see who made this. Oh my god, I can't see... Okay, I'll post your name on the screen if I can find it. Whoever you are, thank you for making this. But why did you include two Jensens? Anyway, let's move Jensen 1. Let's keep in theme. Jensen is going to the come on, do something tier. Jensen had this incredibly exciting, scary plot of what is happening with this mysterious man, moving bodies in the intro screen, being scary, getting all the end credits like we are building up to some sort of Avengers Endgame situation with Jensen as the main villain, like he's going to snap everybody out of existence. But no, it was very much an anticlimax, and all the final scenes were basically the same scene over and over and over again. Like, oh, Jensen did something, woo! Or, oh, Jensen is gonna do something, woo! And then it all culminated in the end with Jensen basically just going for the money and being like Derek and Trevor's puppet to do evil stuff, and then crashing his bus and potentially dying. Yay! Jensen should have been more menacing throughout this season. I believe he got less screen time than Marcus, and if you're going for a climactic ending with your storyline, you need to give the character something to do. That means we are left... I don't know why you are here. I'm just gonna... Can I ignore you? Can I remove you? No, never mind. Then we are left with the actual contestants within this show. And they're already ordered in semi-random order, so I'm just gonna keep to this order, I think. We start with Jake. Uh-oh. I think Jake is going in beautifully average. At the beginning, I would have put Jake in the dough category, just because I really don't like Jake. But the more that I watch this season, and the more that the characters that I do like become more and more gray as the season goes on, I start to understand Jake more. That being said, I think he was way too whiny about all of this, and I don't really like characters that are whiny. Like, you may remember that there is this one character from Total Drama that does a lot of whining, and I don't have a particular good take on him either. It's just a character that is naturally unappealing to me, but I think his execution was well. I could imagine a real life person like this, with real life struggles, who really acts this way. I think Jake acted really natural, and I know some people who would act like this in real life too, and I don't like those people either. Adding up all those factors, I think Jake being in the beautifully average tier is a good place for him. Gabby is next! Gabby, stop being this cool! Gabby is not only my favorite character of Disventure Camp Season 1, she's also my favorite character of Disventure Camp as a whole. That is a hot take, I believe. There seem to be a lot of people that don't think Gabby is this good of a character, and I wholeheartedly disagree. I love Gabby to bits. Gabby's inner struggle, Gabby's want for friendship, Gabby's desire to fit in but being way too energetic and thus making her the outcast by accident is such a endearing, cute storyline. And you want to root for this character to win. Like, I am definitely going into All-Stars with hopes that Gabby wins the season, because Gabby deserves it. She deserves this break. She deserves the friends. She deserves to be liked. I love Gabby so much. What I will say, though, about Gabby is that I am not particularly a big fan of her talking to herself. I think the execution of that could have been better, and I hope when we get to All-Stars, that dynamic with herself is explored more. Like, if the evil voice is returning, I hope that it is more consistent. She was very inconsistent throughout some moments, especially during the elimination of Lil and Ashley. Her evil laughing because she has the chance to vote people off who previously betrayed her. Like, I get it. Gabby is a little spiteful and revengeful in that way, but it doesn't really translate to the Gabby that we see throughout the rest of this season. Still, I love her regardless, and I hope nothing more than that she wins next season. Dan, going to the "Aw man, am I happy that you were in this season" tier. Dan was such a delightful surprise for me this season. I had no clue reading the script that this character was going to go as far as he did. Like, Dan is the original Miriam Miracle for me. It was so fun to see this character who had basically no personality, like, embrace that idea and be like, okay, so we effectively have a blank slate here. what can we do with him in terms of story and in terms of interactions? And I think they made the most of that. His interaction with Gabby is really sweet. His bonding with the boys and then one of the boys betraying them and him becoming paranoid to basically every other player in this game. Him playing very, very shady when it comes to it, as long as it means his own survival. Dan is just an alright fun character who is, in my opinion, pretty well thought out. Was he the most important player in the game? No. In fact, I think you could have done with eliminating him a couple episodes earlier. But then again, we wouldn't have had the Dan supremacy, which was such a booming trend before the Miriam miracle became a thing. And for the times that he did get to do something, I was really happy that he was here. It was sad to see him go. Basically, I was hoping that Dan could win the season. It would have been incredibly dumb. Very, very, very dumb, in fact. I would probably not have liked the ending of Disventure Camp as much as it was if it was Dan, but man, would it have been funny. Because of that, I respect Dan for what he is and what he was portraying this season. And especially with the knowledge that he's not coming back for All-Stars, I like his position in this game. Miriam going straight up from Doe to come on do something to beautifully average to, oh man, am I happy that you were in this season to stop being this cool. Miriam Miracle was a thing. We knew it would happen. We had faith in it. We stuck through it through thick and thin. We had ups, we had downs, but in the end, we always had Miriam to rely on. And Miriam is the deserving winner of this season. When I first read the script, I knew a little bit about the elimination order. Not exactly, but I had a rough idea of who was going when. Miriam, I believe, is like third, fourth to go. She goes really quickly. And she's like this grumpy old grandma lady who just doesn't really like anything and is just salty about basically everything. That is the picture that I got of Miriam. I don't know if that is actually correct, but that is the image that I had of Miriam. Seeing them grab the idea of Miriam's storyline and just evolving that, like not being afraid to divert from her elimination order and just actually giving her the win, is such a cool thing. It's so incredibly cool. And not only that, but Miriam herself was really cool this season too. Especially in the earlier season when she is this character of like, I don't give a flying frick of what is going on here. I'm just gonna dominate it. It was really fun to watch. And what I appreciate about Miriam as well is that she's actually pretty good strategically as well. She basically is constantly making plans of how is she going to stay in this game. What I will say about Miriam though, and which is why I considered moving her back one tier even, in the end it becomes a little bit tiresome to see that Miriam is just naturally good at everything. Like every other episode it felt like Miriam shared a skill with us that came out of nowhere and that she was secretly really good in high school. Like she could do literally anything. And that becomes tiresome after an end. It's why I don't like Crimson as much in the Bronculus either, because, and Ennui, by the way, too, but I feel like Crimson has it a little worse, where they too can do all sorts of things, because it would be funny if people say that they can't do things, and then we see the random kooky characters doing the exact thing that the character just mentioned they can't do. Like, that is a tiresome trope to me, and while this does not necessarily hit that, I think it matches it quite well, which is not a compliment. Miriam in the finale makes no sense, her faking a heart attack just so she hopes that Ellie is going to check up on her, so she can get the upper hand by throwing away her shovel and then running to the finish line and basically ditching Ellie there. That made no sense, but I just thought it was really funny. Like, story-wise, that should not have worked. Like, an actual character would not have come up with that on the spot. But because it's Miriam, I think it's hilarious. I think it's really funny to fake your own heart attack as the only solution to win a game like this. So yeah, we are definitely moving Miriam in this tier. Tom can join his boyfriend, then ex-boyfriend, then boyfriend, then ex-boyfriend in beautifully average, which is a fitting place for Tom. I didn't like Tom at the beginning of the season. Like, Jake and Tom, I've warmed up to both of them, but in the beginning of this season, if I were to have made a tier list earlier, they would definitely both have been here. Like, maybe even lower. I would have made a special tier for either of them. For the next season, I hope Tom doesn't get stuck with Jake again. Like, Tom has to interact more with other people, not just Jake. And I hope that he gets the ability to do so. It looks promising from what the trailer is showing, but I think Tom could be a very fun character on his own without Jake. So I'm kind of hoping that Jake goes really, really early into the next season and that we get to explore Tom more on his own. For this season though, he was beautifully average. I didn't care much for Tom. Like, there were a couple of episodes where I was hoping that he would be the boot instead of somebody else. But his position, I'm just glad he didn't win the season. That would have been too predictable. I'm glad he got 6th. His ending was really good, though. The episodes when the drama between Jake and Tom started to unfold, and when Tom was actually fed up with Jake and it didn't have a happy ending, that scored points with me for sure. I liked that a lot. I know that a couple of fans, especially a lot of Jake and Tom shippers, will not be happy with that moment. But man, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was such a good and realistic approach to what would happen in these kinds of situations. Like, jealousy is a bitch and a half. Sorry for the cursing. I'll bleep that out with some funny sound effect or something. But it is terrible. And this arc between Tom and Jake shows perfectly what that is like in real life. Like, things don't necessarily always have a good ending. And I think these guys show that very, very well. Which is why they're both an average now. That was the one saving grace for both of these characters, in my opinion. I'm not going to go through the effort of ranking the characters in their respective tier. I'm not gonna move Tom ahead of Jake. Even though that is exactly why I was talking about this, because if I would have done that, I would have moved Tom ahead of Jake, because I think Tom is more fun than Jake. But, like, what is the point of a tier list if you're going to order the tiers in order of who's your favorite and who isn't? Then just make a top 10 list, guys. Go back to 2012 YouTube. Gret is going to the "Aw man, am I happy that you were in this season" tier. The sass on this character is unreal. Gret in Adventure Camp, to my knowledge, I've watched episode 1, like snippets of it, is a character who is evil for the sake of being evil until she is no longer needed to be evil because Fiore takes over the role of being evil. Gret in Disventure Camp Season 1 is far more layered than that. She has a major complex with her identity and her need of being loved, especially by her parents and her constantly being second to her brother. You understand why this character is the evil son of a gun that she is in this season. Because that's just the person that she has been nurtured to be. I like how there are a couple of really close calls to her story as well, like her being eliminated fakely in episode 6, for example. It should have been over for Gret there, because she's not playing this game the wisest at most times. But somehow she still manages to pull through. There was one episode where I thought she was horribly inconsistent with her character though, and that is the episode where she goes home when she is basically bullying Gabby around and being honestly one of the dumbest contestants in the show, like saying things that like, "What are you gonna do? You are so stupid, you would never vote me out," and then throw a surprise Pikachu face when she's actually eliminated. Oh no, who could have seen that coming? That was definitely the most horrible episode of Gret in this entire season. And there are a couple of other inconsistencies to this character, but overall I think this character was really fun. I like the approach of her evilness and doing it for the sake of her just wanting to see herself in the best possible light that she can. And yeah, I'm curious what this character has to bring for the next season, especially with the amount of villains that we have in All-Stars confirmed. I wonder if Gret is gonna take up the villain role even more, or a lot less. It's gonna be really interesting to see. Moving on to Drew, and it feels like there's one tier on this list that is perfectly made for Drew, which is the "Aw man, am I happy that you were in this season" tier. Not necessarily because I think he's on the level of Gret and Dan, and even Derek to that point, but Drew is such a fun surprise. I do not like mute characters. I think they are lame. I think they're dumb. I hope they get eliminated the very first second that they join the show, because there is no potential to a character like that winning. They are just screen hogging, and I don't want to get invested in a character that I know is not going to win this show. That's actually not true. I like getting invested in villains as well. But for mute characters, like, they are usually also the nice guy who gets eliminated. It's a big shocker because, oh no, we like that guy and now he's gone. And Drew is nothing else. Like, Drew captured the hearts of so many people in the start. But the difference with Drew and other mute characters of his type is that I fully agree. Drew was adorable. I think the way they handled Drew with the little cartoon sounds and the little notepad that he scribbled on instead is... I think that was so incredibly charming. I loved every second of Drew on screen. He went at the good time. I think if he were to stick out longer, like maybe one maybe 2 episodes, it would still have been fine. Anything longer than that, it would have been overkill. But yeah, really like Drew for the couple of episodes that he gets to join in. So yeah, I am very happy that he was in this season because it was a fun distraction and it was a good fill for one of the early boot characters. I'm happy that they used one of the 2 new character slots for a character that goes home so incredibly early, but left such a good impression on the people watching while he was here. Ashley, coming in as a very hot take for this list. Yeah. Yeah, you can shout out in the comments. I'll be here. Go type whatever you need to type in the comments. The most horrible things you can think of, because I put Ashley in a low tier. Yeah, go do it. Go do it. It's fine. Some people will probably click off. No, okay. Everybody back again? Everybody finish the comment? Okay, cool. Let's talk about Ashley. I don't really like Ashley all that much. I know, I'm in the wrong in this one. But in my opinion, Ashley does not have a special character trait other than her being the nice girl with a funny accent. Like, her lines were really funny. Absolutely. It was pretty funny to watch her on screen. But I couldn't care less about Ashley, to be quite honest with you. In hindsight, with all the characters that we have on this show, Ashley is filler material at best. And I don't think she deserves an All-Stars position. Nope, not at all. Not even close. And I get why people like her so much. She's a fan favorite for a reason. She's cute, she's quirky, she's also fierce and tough, and she has a couple of really good lines. But in the end of the day, Ashley just left way too little of an impression to actually make me care for her this season. Like, Ashley is on this unfortunate side of the alliance that gets eliminated like back to back to back to back at the beginning of this show. In my honest opinion, I think Ashley should have made it further than she did. Not necessarily because I want her to make it further, because I actually think that there is story potential here. Like, Fiore wins over the alliance, over Lil and Ashley and such. But I think having Ashley around as the successor to Lil's story, almost. Like, Lil gets defeated, but Ashley now has to try and continue to fight off against Fiore. That would have been interesting. That would have been something different. But no, now Ashley also gets eliminated at the same time. And it feels like all this build-up was worth nothing. I'm curious about her in All-Stars. I'll not pretend that I don't like this character. I just wish she did something. That's exactly what the tier is. So I'm curious what they're going to do with her in All-Stars. I hope that she gets a big story there. Because if she goes home again very early on, then I don't know what to do. I might break the Geneva Convention at that point. Okay, moving on to Alec. And I am also really happy again that Alec was in this season. An interesting character to say the least. Alec did not start out as much, to be quite honest with you. Early Alec is like here, maybe even here. But no, definitely Alec climbs up the ranks the longer he stays in the show. And I think reading the script here helps. Because Alec, when reading the script, is a major player. And that only shows, I want to say halfway through, but not even then is it really obvious that Alec is going to be this big of a player. I think his dynamic with Fiore is really interesting. I like that this character is slowly warming up to this character and then kind of gets obsessive with it to the point that he likes her more than his own son. Like, that is messed up. That is actually messed up. And Alec's betrayal in the final episode that he's on is also a really interesting way to cap off the story he has with Fiore as well. Especially with Fiore not caring about it at all. Looking at what Adventure Camp did as well, I think you need an Alec in this season to make Fiore work more. Because Fiore needs votes to rely on. Like, Fiore cannot just weasel her way through the competition. She needs somebody to actually rely on in terms of votes. And that is why I'm happy that Alec was in this season, because it gives realism to this entire situation. Like, Fiore is not just evil, and because of that, because the villain always makes it to third place or something, she gets to stay in the show as long as she wants. No, Alec actually makes that possible for her. Like, there's not a lot of votes. And in the beginning, it's kind of scary for her, but they manage and manage and manage again and again and again. I will say Alec was not always as consistent. I don't know exactly why Alec had such a hatred towards Nick. Like, that was never really explained. Was it? Maybe I was not paying attention. But anyway, in my opinion, there are a couple of moments where I think, like, Alec, I don't really get it. But then there are moments like him and Ellie interacting, and I think that is a really crucial part to his storyline as well that I have not touched on yet, which makes him a good character. Which is something I'm really excited to see explored in the next season too. So overall, I am happy that he's here, and I'm happy to see him in the next season too. Next up on the list is Fiore, and she is going straight into the stop being this cool tier. I love Fiore. I think she is one of the most fun villain characters I have ever seen. Fiore's plans don't always make the most of sense. They rely a little bit on luck too much, but hey, that is where Alec comes in to balance that out a little bit, which makes it far more believable than her Adventure Camp counterpart. The trope of a very young character being the secret mastermind while the rest doesn't know a thing is not really that original. But regardless, I think Fiore is so well executed. I love the energy that Fiore brings. I love this character and the way that she is evil. I just simply adore having Fiore on screen, to the point that I was rooting for her to stay in the game as long as she possibly could. I'm curious what they're gonna do with her next season. I feel like she might be an earlier boot to give room for some other villains to develop. But regardless, I think Fiore was a fantastic addition to Disventure Camp, and it would have been a completely different show without her. And I just really, really like her. Moving on to Will. I want to put Will in this tier, but I'm actually gonna put him in here. Will is not a good character per se, and I actually want to make this a double talk, because otherwise I'm going to repeat myself 2 times. I want to move another character to this tier as well, which is Nick. Imagine yourself writing Adventure Camp, then Disventure Camp Season 2, then deciding you want to do Disventure Camp Season 1 so that you can do Disventure Camp Season 3, which combines the 2 projects into one. You have already shown this season to quite a few members of your channel, right? You are pitching a story that has already been told, is already out there for people to go watch if they should choose to do so. How do you entice them? Well, you come up with the idea of a new elimination order, which basically shakes up the entire story again. You add 2 new characters, you mix up the elimination order, you add new hosts, basically confirming that, yes, this uses the same assets as Adventure Camp, but this is a completely different story. The one thing you don't then do is completely break that notion. And that is exactly what has happened with Will and where Nick should have come in. How, out of all eliminated characters, is Will actually the first one to go home? The Will elimination, it's a good elimination, but it is the exact same as his elimination in Adventure Camp, which completely breaks your story's notion of this is going to be something you have not experienced before. It is the exact same trope of Fiore going against Will, Will being shocked that Fiore is evil, trying to convince his allies that Fiore is evil, not managing to convince his allies that Fiore is evil, and getting eliminated because of it. It is so dumb. Because now you've signaled to your audience that yes, this is actually going to usually overlap with what we've been doing so far. Which is stupid, because what happens, people tune out, they already know this story. I imagine there will be quite a few people who have watched Adventure Camp who will not have continued Disventure Camp because of this. And like, people's minds work differently, right? You don't need to see the original Adventure Camp to know that this is a rehash and therefore not be interested in it. It's weird how that works, but it does work that way. You are tuning off people this way by saying you're going to do one thing and then immediately following that up with something else. Yeah, sure, Dan survives his first elimination, but if Will's elimination is so incredibly similar to his elimination in Adventure Camp, then what is the point? It makes it so that we are safe to assume that Fiore is going to be the main villain again, that she's going to the finale again, that Ellie is going to be in the finale again, and it diminishes the surprises that you have planned because people are simply expecting something to happen and are maybe even getting annoyed when that something does not happen. Like, Miriam not getting eliminated at all was a surprise to many of people, because whenever I saw comments and predictions throughout the show, it was always Miriam is going next. And that makes sense, because you've shown that we can compare the 2 shows in terms of elimination order. This may be a nitpick, but this is definitely something that bugged me the wrong way. Will did not add a single thing to this show other than what was already shown in Adventure Camp, only this time it was crammed into 1 episode instead of in 2, which I think is fine. I don't think we need to have Will on for another episode to do nothing and then get eliminated instead anyways, but I don't think this was the tactical way to do this. Will should technically be in the call on do something tier because we didn't really get any chance to attach to this character before he was eliminated, but because I am so annoyed by his elimination, he's going into the DO tier. I'm sticking to that. I'm gonna ruin it every time. Speaking of the tier, and why Nick is here is because I believe that Nick should have taken his place. There was fireworks there. I don't know if you heard that. I'm just going to continue with my rant. Nick should have been the first boot. How do you make the first elimination exciting? How do you keep on that promise of anybody could be eliminated at any time? Eliminate the guy that came in 4th last time first. That would have been such a plot twist to the point that I think everyone could have been unsafe. Now we are postponing Nick's elimination to the 3rd elimination, but at that point we've already established that there are 2 people who have been eliminated. One of them is the exact same as in the previous season, and the second one doesn't really count because he's a new character. So it takes 4 episodes for something wildly different to happen, which is not really an achievement considering that this show already had 3 more episodes to begin with. I can say a whole lot of things about Nick, but I think Derek, which is the voice actor of Nick, has summed it up best. I don't think I can top his words there. When reading Nick's script, when he is dealing with his insecurities early on, when he's showing how he is a goofball, basically, how he's an idiot, that would have been perfectly fine eliminating him then and there. Like, that would have been a good first boot. And why Nick is in the dope tier is because this character is far less enjoyable than the Adventure Camp, is because I believe that this is one of the only characters that actually gets a downgrade from his Adventure Camp counterpart, but without any of the cool benefits of being like the shock elimination. Like, it's not really shocking that Nick goes out when he does, but it could have been. I don't know if this makes sense, but because of that, both characters find themselves in the dough tier. Nope, didn't do it. No! Okay, ranted enough. I think we are going with a little bit of a nicer approach. Lil is going into the beautifully average tier. Oh no, that's also not a popular opinion. Never mind. It's really a matter of screen time. I like Lil's storyline. I like what they were setting up here, but I think her failing in the end to actually deliver something is kind of why she's in beautifully average. I feel like when you are going for the storyline of Lil being the only one, together with Ashley then, to figure out that Fiore's evil, and her trying to stop Fiore and then failing to do so, should at least come with some kind of victory for her. For example, that now everybody knows that Fiore's evil, instead of just Lil getting eliminated. If you want a natural progression of that trope, you should have done the big reveal right then and there. Like, Lil and Ashley could have gathered evidence that Fiore's evil, and then still Gabby could have betrayed Lil and Ashley, like, oh, we're voting you out anyways. I wish that Lil had more of an impact to the story. Now her storyline is kind of ended with a sizzle. I like her. She's fine. Not the best character or anything, or at least not in my opinion. And that's why I put her in beautifully average. And finally, we have Ellie. I don't really know where we're going to put Ellie. I think Ellie is going into the average tier as well. She's not good enough to put her on the, oh man, am I happy that you were in the season tier? Just because I feel like her character is not really consistent throughout the season. At one point, they tried to make you root for her as the big hero of this season. At other moments, she is actually kind of more like on the evil side. She kind of flip-flops between her opinions, and I just don't really find this character all that appealing. She's been fun for the time that she was on. She definitely left an impact on this season, which is why she's not in the come on, do something tier. But yeah, Ellie left quite a lot to be desired, especially after her gigantically unfair rant against Jake. Yeah, you know, Ellie, not my favorite character. I do appreciate that she didn't win the season though, not just because Miriam then could take the win, but also because it would have been a rehash from Adventure Camp again. And then finally we have Jensen again, and I'm going to put Jensen in the Jensen tier because there's 2 Jensens and I don't know what to do with this, but I don't want to leave like one character here. So we have Jensen, and Ashley. This looks cursed. Anyways, that is going to wrap up my tier list for today. Let me know in the comments what you think. Which opinions did I get horribly wrong, and which ones do you actually kind of agree with secretly? Just note that if you think Gabby is a terrible character, I do not want to hear it. Also, let me know what you thought of Trevor, because I can't really rank him. So go down to the comments if you want to see what other people thought of Trevor. Let's do one giant Trevor rank in the comment section. That could be fun. Before we end this video, I would like to give a shout out to Gietergeit, Creeper XOX, Camille is a Great Defender, 90, Media Films, Galen Strimbu, Avi Koopa, Immer Gaming, and Meffers for their continuous support on the Silly Billy channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. If you would like to become a supporter yourself, check out the little button below, which says something like join, become member thingy. Not those words, though, those are wrong. And something that looks like that. You can join for like $2 a month, which is the lowest tier, but also immediately the highest tier because there's no differences in the advantages. So if you support at any level, you get all the benefits of being a member to the Silly Billy channel, which includes getting episodes a couple of days earlier. I will be back once Disventure Camp Season 3 airs, which should not be far from now. And then we're going back to blind reactions. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am for that. Thank you so much everyone for following me throughout Disventure Camp Season 1, especially if you have been keeping up with all the interviews. Your support has meant a lot to me, and it has made this journey even more unforgettable than it already has been. So thank you very much. This has been Silly Billy, and remember, Ashley is kind of overrated. Out.